There's a quiet moment before every trading day begins, a moment where the charts are blank, the mind is clear, and possibility feels infinite. We tell ourselves this time will be different, that discipline will hold, that emotion will stay silent. But the truth is, trading is never just about strategy. It's about psychology. It's about how we face ourselves when the market turns against us. This is not a lesson in price action. This is a lesson in self-awareness. A story of how one morning a series of losses didn't destroy me, they defined me. This is Case 16 multi-loss morning. Daily max stop saved P&L. A real trading case study about losing control, regaining clarity, and discovering the edge that no indicator can measure the mind. It started like every other morning. The charts glowed softly in the dark room, the hum of the monitors, a familiar comfort, coffee silence, and the illusion of control. I had a plan, levels marked bias, clear risk, defined. At least that's what I told myself. The first trade came quickly. A setup I've seen 100 times before, textbook precision, clean structure, strong conviction. I pressed the button with calm certainty, and almost immediately the market disagreed. A fast move against me, stop, hit, loss booked. No big deal. One trade, one data point. I told myself, stay objective. But something subtle shifted. It wasn't about the money, it was the narrative that cracked. The story I was telling myself that I understand this market started to fracture. And beneath that story was something fragile, the need to be right. The ego stirred. The second trade wasn't in the plan. It was faster, more emotional, less thought, and more impulse. A tiny voice whispered, "You'll get it back." But when I hit confirm, it wasn't confidence, it was fear dressed as courage. And the result was the same. Stop, loss, again. The room grew quieter. The coffee went cold. My breathing shortened. A pattern I've seen in others now playing through me like a script I couldn't stop reading. One more trade, one more chance to make the morning right. The third trade was pure emotion. No logic, no patience, no awareness, just reaction. And when it failed, something inside me wanted to explode. Anger, confusion, disbelief, they all arrived at once, screaming behind a mask of focus. But I wasn't focused. I was desperate. I stared at the P&L. Red, deep red. A number I didn't want to see. And for a moment, I wasn't looking at a trading account. I was looking at my worth, my identity, my competence as a trader. That's when I realized how fragile it all was. One morning, 3 trades, and the mind begins to unravel. In that quiet collapse, I saw at the moment every trader eventually meets. Not the moment you lose money, but the moment you lose yourself in the process. When the rules fade, when logic melts into emotion, when you stop trading the market and start trading your pain. My cursor hovered over the button again. One click could start the cycle all over. The urge was strong not to win, but to erase the feeling of being wrong. And that's the most dangerous trade of all. Then a number flashed on the screen. Daily max stop reached. It was small, mechanical, impersonal, but it stopped me. It wasn't just a rule. It was a mirror. The system was telling me what my mind couldn't. You're done. Walk away. I sat there frozen, wrestling between 2 voices. One said just one more. The other whispered, "You've done enough." The battle lasted only seconds, but it felt eternal. And then silence. I closed the platform, hands trembling, heart pounding. For the first time that morning, I felt something like peace, the peace of surrender. That's when I realized discipline isn't about strength. It's about acceptance. The willingness to say today isn't my day and still protect the part of you that will show up tomorrow. It's not weakness, it's self-respect. Most traders think risk management is about protecting capital, but the truth is deeper. It protects the mind, because once the mind is gone, the account will follow. Always. I walked outside, the sun already high, and the noise of the city felt distant. I had lost money, yes, but I had kept something far more important, my composure. and that composure would make me profitable again. That morning, the daily max stop didn't just save my P&L. It saved the part of me that still believes in process and patience in the long game. Later that day, I sat alone with my notebook open, the charts still glowing in my mind. I replayed each click, each breath, each thought that led me there. It wasn't the market that beat me that morning, it was my own reflection staring back through the screen. Every red candle was a mirror. Every loss was an echo of something I hadn't yet learned to control. I realized how easily confidence turns into ego, how thin the line is between conviction and attachment. I told myself I was following the plan, but deep down I was defending an identity, the trader who sees clearly, the one who knows. And when that image cracked, I fought to protect it, not the account. That's the secret most don't talk about. We don't trade charts, we trade stories. We trade the version of ourselves we want to believe in. Each position becomes a statement: I'm right, I understand, I belong. So when the market disagrees, it feels personal, it feels like rejection. And rejection is pain. I wrote down 3 words: observe, don't absorb. Because that's the shift. When you observe, you stay free. When you absorb, you drown in your own reaction. That morning taught me the difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is survival, fast, emotional, blind. Response is awareness, slow, grounded, patient. One drains you, the other rebuilds you. I used to think being a good trader meant controlling everything. Now I know it means allowing everything to pass through you without letting it own you. The loss, the noise, the temptation to prove, they're all temporary waves. The mind that watches them is permanent. The next day I didn't trade. I just watched. I watched price move without me, and for the first time it didn't hurt. It was like sitting beside a river I no longer needed to swim across. The silence between moves became my teacher. From that silence came an insight: the daily max stop isn't a restriction, it's an invitation. An invitation to pause, to breathe, to let the nervous system reset before it burns the account down. It's not there to limit growth, it's there to protect clarity. Because clarity is the trader's true edge. When you violate your limits, you're not chasing profit, you're escaping discomfort. And escape always ends in the same place: exhaustion and regret. But when you honor your limit, you build trust with yourself. And that trust compounds faster than any strategy ever could. I remember looking at my weekly equity curve later that month. It was smoother, not because I made more, but because I lost less when I was emotional. The curve was a mirror of my state of mind. Less chaos, more rhythm, discipline written in numbers. Trading isn't about predicting. It's about staying available mentally, emotionally, financially. The daily max stop kept me available. It allowed me to live to trade another day with a clearer head and a calmer heart. I used to chase mastery of the market. Now I chase mastery of my responses. The charts are simple. It's the mind that's complex. Every candle carries both information and temptation. My job is to know the difference. That morning when everything went wrong, I thought I had failed. But now I see it as the day the market handed me a mirror and said, look at what control really means. Look at how much of you still trades from fear. Look at the point where awareness ends and ego begins. Because that's where the real work is. There's a quiet kind of success that comes from walking away before destruction. It doesn't feel heroic, it feels humble. But humility is the foundation of longevity. It's what keeps you here long enough for skill to mature into wisdom. As I close my journal tonight, I write one final note to myself. The market will test you again. It always does. But when it does, remember, you've already met the storm once and you learned how to stand still in the rain. That's trading psychology in its purest form. Not the absence of emotion, but the art of meeting emotion with awareness. Not perfection, but presence. And presence, when practiced daily, becomes the edge that never fades. Weeks passed, yet that morning never left me. It lived quietly in the background, a reminder that discipline is not built in victory, but in restraint. Every time I opened my platform, I could still feel the echo of that red morning, the tension in my chest, the noise in my mind, the silence that followed when I finally stopped. It was no longer a wound. It had become a teacher. I began to notice how my definition of success was changing. Before, it was all about the outcome, the green numbers, the smooth equity curve, the validation that I was on the right path. But now, success felt simpler, quieter. It was the moment I could feel fear rising and still choose patience. It was the day I ended flat and yet felt proud because I had honored my limits. Success had shifted from performance to presence. That shift changed everything. I started approaching each session with a new kind of curiosity. Not, what will I make today, but who will I be when the market challenges me today, because the market will always challenge you. It's designed to expose your impatience, your attachment, your hidden need to prove. It's not personal, it's psychological. It's a mirror reflecting every corner of your behavior. I began to journal differently. Not just price action, but emotional action. What was I feeling before I entered? What was I trying to avoid when I moved my stop? What belief drove my impatience? Over time, the charts began to look less like random movement and more like feedback loops from my own mind. Patterns within patterns, not in price, but in me. That's when I realized something fundamental. Trading isn't about learning the market's language. It's about translating your own. Every candle that frustrates you, every fake breakout, every missed move, they're all conversations between your fear and your awareness. If you listen carefully, the market tells you where your work is, not on the screen, but inside. The more I listened, the less I fought. I stopped demanding perfection from the market and started seeking alignment within myself. There's a profound calm that comes when you no longer need to be right, when your only goal is to stay aligned with your process. You stop chasing certainty and start building consistency. And consistency isn't born from strategy, it's born from self-trust. Self-trust is what the Daily Max Stop built inside me. Each time I honored it, I told my subconscious I am safe in my own hands. That message rewired something deep. I didn't need to fight anymore. I could let go and still feel grounded. That feeling, more than any profit, became the measure of progress. There were still losses, of course. Days when I was out of sync, when the market moved beautifully without me. But those days no longer broke me. They passed through me like weather, noticed, felt, released. The urge to chase faded because the need to prove had dissolved. The game had changed. I was no longer playing against the market. I was practicing mastery of self. Sometimes late at night, I replay that morning in my mind. The losses, the frustration, the voice that whispered, "Stop." And I smile, not because it was pleasant, but because it was necessary. It stripped away the illusion that trading success is a straight line upward. It showed me that the real growth happens in the pauses, in the moments when you choose awareness over impulse. Every trader meets that moment, eventually the crossroads between ego and evolution. Most will push forward, hoping to win back what they've lost. A few will stop, reflect, and allow the loss to become wisdom. That's the separation between those who burn out and those who last. And lasting is the true measure of success in this game. I think often about the phrase mind over markets. It used to sound like control. Now it sounds like harmony. It's not about forcing the market to obey. It's about aligning the mind to flow with what is. Control creates tension. Harmony creates longevity. And longevity is where real wealth lives, not just financial, but psychological. So when new traders ask me, what's the secret, I tell them this story. Not to scare them, but to prepare them. Because everyone will have their own multi-loss morning. Everyone will face the mirror. And in that moment, your edge won't be your setup or your strategy. It will be your ability to stop, breathe, and return to yourself. The market rewards awareness disguised as discipline. It punishes attachment disguised as confidence. The difference is subtle, but it defines careers. I learned that on a random morning after 3 losing trades and 1 quiet act of surrender. That act saved more than a day's profit. It saved the mindset that makes profit possible. And so when I sit down to trade now, I begin the same way every day. Breathe in. Remind myself the goal is not to win. The goal is to remain clear. Because clarity is what allows wisdom to act, and wisdom is what keeps you in the game long after the noise fades. That's what the daily max stop taught me. That's what the market whispered when I finally stopped trying to fight it. And that's what I carry with me into every session, a quiet reminder that mastery is not about conquering the market. It's about understanding yourself so deeply that the market can no longer control you. There comes a point in every trader's journey when the market is no longer the opponent, it becomes the teacher. It speaks in silence through uncertainty, through drawdowns that test the limits of your patience and the truth of your intentions. That morning was one of those lessons, and it continues to whisper to me even now. I used to think the market was about probability. Now I think it's about awareness. Awareness of how you show up, what you hold on to, and what you still fear losing. Each trade reveals something about who you are, not just what you know. Every chart becomes a reflection of your state of mind. I began to see that trading is a spiritual practice disguised as a financial one. It strips away illusions. It exposes attachment. It humbles the ego. It reminds you over and over that control is an illusion and presence is the only real edge. On the surface, it's about entries and exits. Underneath, it's about surrender and self-honesty. You can't lie to the market. It sees the parts of you that act from fear, the parts that crave certainty, the parts that can't yet accept randomness. It punishes denial and rewards humility. The morning I hit my daily max stop, I didn't just stop trading. I stopped pretending. Pretending that discipline was about numbers. Pretending that patience could be faked. Pretending that success was something you could measure in a day. That moment stripped me bare. It showed me that growth often hides inside the pauses we try to avoid. As weeks became months, I noticed a deeper stillness growing inside me. The charts still moved, the candles still burned, but I no longer chased them. There was a rhythm to my process now, not rigid, but intentional. The market became less like a battlefield and more like a mirror for reflection. Each session began with breath. Each exit ended with gratitude. I realized the most dangerous losses were never financial. They were emotional leaks that went unnoticed. The small betrayals of self-trust that accumulate when you trade from impulse instead of awareness. Those were the losses that hollowed traders out from the inside, and those were the ones I vowed never to repeat. The irony is that the more I let go of needing to win, the more I started to win. Because clarity replaced pressure and patience replaced urgency. The edge wasn't in predicting the next move. It was in accepting the one that already happened. Peace became profitable. Now, when I mentor new traders, I tell them about that morning, not to warn them, but to prepare them for the mirror that awaits us all. The mirror doesn't lie. It will show you what kind of person you become when money, time, and control slip away. And in that reflection, you'll see your work, not the market's, but your own. I tell them you don't need to control the storm. You just need to stop fighting the rain. Because once you stop resisting, you begin to see clearly. And clarity is freedom. If you ask me today what I gained from that day, I wouldn't mention profit or performance. I'd say I gained perspective. I learned to trust silence more than signals. I learned that walking away is not quitting, it's choosing longevity over ego. I learned that every trade win or loss is simply a mirror, asking one question: are you awake yet? That morning was my awakening. Not dramatic, not loud, just the quiet realization that everything I'd been chasing was already within me. Discipline, peace, consistency. They were never external tools. They were internal states waiting to be remembered. And so every day I sit down, breathe, and remind myself the market is not here to break me. It's here to reveal me. And as long as I keep learning from that reflection, I'll never truly lose again. This was case thought number 16, multi-loss morning. Daily max stop saved P&L. A morning that began in frustration and ended in awareness. A lesson written not on the charts, but in the quiet space between fear and acceptance. The space where growth begins. The space where the mind finally rises above the markets. If this story spoke to something inside you, it's because you've been there too. You felt the rush, the loss, the quiet guilt of knowing you broke your own rules. But you've also felt that stillness the moment you stop chasing, stop fighting, and finally start seeing. That's where transformation begins. The charts will always change, but your awareness can stay constant. And when it does, you stop trading for approval and start trading from peace. That's what Mind Over Markets is about, mastering the self behind the screen. If this resonated with you, listen, and keep reflecting with me. Because in the end, the real profit is clarity. And clarity begins the moment you choose to see yourself honestly.